Well done that all of you are here. How many people had fun last night? Did anybody drink any wine last night?
No, only water.
Is this, have a little feedback? Is this one going to be better? I think so, a little bit, but it's still a little, yeah, right?
Sounds like feedback to me.
Well, we're going to keep going even though there's a little feedback on this. And I'm going to ask Linda Schenk to come up. She is the Executive Director from the Wine Communicators of Australia, which is our main partner in bringing this conference to Australia. And Irene, you guys will both come up. Sit here on the seats like you're a panel, not like you're involved. Come on up. Irene Morgan is with Destination New South Wales. That is the, how many states? 8? 7 plus a territory? 5 states plus 1 territory in Australia. And New South Wales is one of those. Irene is only coming from Los Angeles, but we should still give her a round of applause for that. Because she just was in Sydney yesterday, 2 days ago. So she's coming all the way from Sydney. And you all know Linda is coming all the way from Adelaide, yes. So let's give them both a round of applause for coming over. Yeah, so.
So if you can't understand me, just stick your hand up because I'll try and slow down and shut up. Not you. Welcome everybody. I'm just going to have a little conversation with you about Australia and the Australian wine market. I'll try not to be too boring. And then I'll hand you over to Irene, who's going to talk about the region that we'll be taking the Wine Bloggers Conference to next year. But I guess to start with, what I wanted to do was actually share with you some of the thoughts and things that you might be fearing about Australia. Recently, my son did an exchange to San Francisco, and we had this child come over. This has got really bad feedback. Are you fixing that? Thank you. My son had this 15-year-old exchange with a boy from San Francisco, and he kept coming over, and the things that you were frightened of were sharks, spiders and snakes. And it's ironic because everybody I've spoken to, they go, "Are you from Australia?" I can't do American, maybe you can say
Australia?
say, "Are you from Australia?"
Are you from Australia?
Yeah. So I say, "Yeah." And they go, oh my God, the spiders over there, they're so scary. But they're really not. I've never seen one of those spiders that you just saw. I've actually seen a brown snake, and they are a bit scary. But the things that are really cool, and the things that we did actually see the most was, and I took the exchange student to, was the cute kangaroos. And we took him also to see the koalas, and they are cute. You just don't want to touch them in the wildlife because they're kind of nasty. The kookaburras, if you've ever heard of a kookaburra before, I encourage you to actually, this was one I actually saw and fed it with some bacon. They eat meat. And of course the great beaches that we have. So, and then people said to me, "Well, I've here, what do you eat in Australia?"
What do you eat in Australia?
What do you eat in Australia? So we eat normal food, like we eat what you guys eat. Unbelievable. And guess what? We have some amazing seafood. So, it's okay. It's a normal country. It's really hospitable. Everyone's very friendly because the sun shines a lot. It's a great place to come. Let's talk about the Australian wine industry, and I'll try not to bore you too much. So this here is an app that someone put me onto, and this shows you the size of Australia with US, the body or the land mass of US over the top, and you can see there that the land mass of Australia and US are very similar in size. It's actually quite surprising. So to fly from, say, Sydney, you can see down the bottom right there, all the way over to Perth is about a 5-hour flight, Irene? It's about a 5-hour flight, which Alan tells me is about the same as going from New York to Seattle. So it's about the same size. But the population is what's surprising. You guys, I Googled this yesterday, or the day before. 326.7 million people, and Australia's got almost 25. Not even, it's 24.77 million. So it's just the size of the population as opposed to the size of the country. So when you go to Australia, it's kind of like nothing's really, really close. You literally have to drive a very long way, or you have to fly a long way, like you do in the US. It's just that right in the middle of Australia, there's really not very much at all. There's not very many population, but there's lots of kangaroos and emus. So this is the Australian wine industry. So this is the global picture. So wine production, we have 1.37 billion litres. And wine consumption is so this is for Australia itself. It's the 6th largest wine producing nation. When you consider our size and the number of the population, it's quite a good number. It's the 5th largest exporting nation. It's the largest wine consuming nation. Oh, sorry, that's the 11th largest wine consuming nation. We're not all as bigger drunks as you think we are. Sorry?
It was because of beer.
Yeah, probably. Probably. Let's not talk about beer. Look, there's a lot of statistics here. I guess what I want to point out is that the top 5 exports for Australia, number 2 is US, number 1 is China at the moment. Those 2 have only recently swapped around. So we live a lot closer, I think, to China than we do the US, but they will probably switch around and chop and change. You can see here the grape crush and a number of things. So look, if you could, I'm happy to share this slide with you later, but I'm not going to go through every single bit for you. It's a little bit too boring. But this is how the wine industry works. So that video you just saw is actually the video from Wine Australia. Wine Australia have actually been doing a roadshow in September around the US and basically showing that video and doing tastings and things like that with people. And the reason they're doing it is because within the Australian wine industry, we don't talk terribly much about, what the French do. I was really surprised when I went on a tour recently. Who was when we went to the barn for lunch? Where was that tour?
Force majeure.
Force majeure. And they kept talking about French wine all the time, and it just really surprised me. They were comparing themselves to French wine. Well, we don't do that because we just don't. We're not like French people. We don't produce French wine. We don't have the old world wines. We have the new world wines. And we're proud of that. So please come along when you come to Australia and experience what it's like to be in a new world wine country. I went too far. So this is how it kind of works. Wine Australia is a statutory body for the whole of the wine industry, and then there's a whole lot of the different associations. So there's state-based associations. You've got every state, Tasmania, New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia is where I come from, Wine Victoria, so on and so forth. And then within that, they have regions within that. And I think you call them AVA here. We call them GIs, Geographical Indicators. So in New South Wales, there's 16 regional associations and so on and so forth you can read. And then there's industry bodies. So we have people like the Australian Society of Viticulture and Oenology, Australian Vignerons, etc., etc. You can see it's in alphabetical order, it's not in hierarchy, and Wine Communicators of Australia on there, and that's the business that I work for. And these are some of the regions, it's not all of the regions. That says there's 76 GIs, that's actually quite wrong, I've realised this morning, but that's okay. There is actually 65 geographical indicators in Australia. And you can see most of them there, split up. Tell me a region from Australia that you might know. Barossa Valley, McLaren Vale,
Clear Valley.
Mornington,
Hunter.
Yarra. Oh, you guys are wonderful. Yeah, I reckon you could list all 65 of them. Well done. Cool. So I just thought I'd share with you some of the pictures. Now, most of these are vineyards. There's one I put in here specifically for Lynn up the front, and we'll get to it in a minute. And most of these, either I've had taken myself or they've come from Wine Australia. It doesn't do every region. So this is Eden Valley in South Australia, in the Adelaide Hills. Clarabelle you called out before, Barossa Valley, that's Seppelsfield Vineyard. It's quite iconic. This is Henschke's. Henschke, Justine, do you know if you heard of Henschke wines? So Justine Henschke is actually on our board. She's a lovely young lady. Clare Valley in South Australia. I come from South Australia, so it's quite dominant. This is 919 wines, and it's a bit pixelated, but I threw it in for Lynn yesterday because she was saying, do you really see kangaroos in the vineyards? And yes, we do. But it's kind of exciting when you do, so we all get excited and we post it on Facebook and all that sort of stuff, or Instagram or whatever. That was an Instagram picture I picked. This is the Riverland. The Riverland's the largest producing region of all of Australia. It's 4 hours drive from Adelaide, or 3.5 hours drive from Adelaide, somewhat like Walla Walla is. And it's an absolutely beautiful region. It's right on the River Murray. Yarra Valley, Victoria, you called out before. Tasmania. Do you notice here, I love this picture because of the gum trees, which, you pretty much is quite unique to Australia. And this is the Hunter Valley. Now, I'm not going to talk much about the Hunter Valley because that's Irene's job and she knows much more about the Hunter than I do. Okay, let me talk to you quickly about Wine Communicators of Australia. I think I've told some of you, but Wine Communicators of Australia are a membership-based organisation. We have over 600 members, and those people are people within the communications arm of the wine industry. So we're talking about wine writers, PR managers, brand managers, winery owners who wear 17 different hats because they're doing the PR and the marketing and the winemaking and the selling and everything else. And our role basically is to engage, connect and inspire and teach people how to be better communicators within our industry. Sorry, I'm standing in your way. We have a board of 12 people. We have chapter members from New South Wales, Victoria, Western Australia and South Australia, so all the main states. Our role is to award excellence, so we have things called the Wine Communicator of the Year Awards, where we recognise 9 different types of communication platforms. So it's the best publication, the best book, the best wine writer, the best... I haven't got the best blogger. We might have to start that one. We might have 10 next year. And you guys could... you have to publish in Australia though to apply, so there'll be a goal for you. And we also get involved with the Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney and Perth wine shows. Perth is only starting next year, that's why it's not on that slide. And at those wine shows we award what we call a Legend of the Vine. So it's a person that has shown exemplary communication skills for the Australian wine industry, and we recognise their contribution to the Australian wine industry per state at those events. The other things we do is webinars, we do educational programs, we do mentoring, we have a wine media cadet program. There's a number of different things that we do towards education and fostering the next generation of communicators for our country. Okay, so how did I first find out about Wine Bloggers Conference? I hadn't heard of you guys. I mean, I've heard of Wine Bloggers, of course, but I haven't heard of Wine Bloggers Conference from Zephyr. And the first person that introduced me to it was this lovely lady right here. And we met over a Skype call, I think, once, and she said, "Oh, I've just been to this Wine Bloggers Conference. You know, you should look into that." And then I met another lady by the name of Sally Coke, who runs a business in Australia called the Ultimate Winery Experience, and she said, "I've just spoken at this Wine Bloggers Conference. You should look into that." So I did, and I rang up. I think I emailed Alan over here and said, "You ever thought of coming to Australia?" And that was 2 years ago, and he said, "Yes, we have." And then he told me how much it cost to get here. I said, "We're a not-for-profit organisation, Alan. We don't have that money." So we were lucky enough that the Australian government were giving out, well, they weren't giving them out easily. They had a grant program to help build tourism in, their focuses was on China and the USA. And so we wrote a grant, and Alan helped me write the grant, and we were lucky enough to win it. So that's why we're coming to Australia in 2019. So it'll be very exciting, I think, for Australia, but also very exciting opportunity for you guys. If you've ever wanted to come to Australia, this gives you the excuse. So please come. We are a good bunch, we're a hospitable bunch, and we will welcome you with open arms. We would love to keep in contact with you, so please take down these handles. I have everyone I've been meeting, you've probably been seeing, I've been stalking you and liking and following you on everything that I possibly can find. So please do the same in reverse. I think that's it from me. I think I'm going to now hand you over to Irene. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. I should say g'day. It's my pleasure to be here today to speak about the Hunter Valley and a little bit about the destination where the conference will be next year in Australia. I've just got to learn how to move forward. No, it's backwards. As Alan mentioned, I'm actually based in Los Angeles. I married a Californian 25 years ago, moved to the United States. So you may pick up a bit of a California twang in my accent as we're going, but just so you know, I'm a dual citizen, Australian, American. One of the most important things to know about getting to Australia right now is there's never been a better time to go. In terms of affordability, there are lots of fantastic competitive airfares out there right now. We're going to talk a little bit more about this later. But I've been in the travel industry up here for 25 years, and I've never seen a better time to travel to Australia. One, we have more flights than ever to Sydney. Two, the whole of the country is on sale right now. I don't know if you've looked at the exchange rate, but it's the lowest it's been in 9 years. So you're making 25 cents on every dollar you spend in Australia. So everything's on sale. 25% off. It's really good. And the shopping is fabulous in Australia. That's one of the hidden secrets of Australia. Not only do we have great wine and great food, but the shopping is fabulous. We'll have a great time. And everything's on sale. So, good time to spend. Also, the distance. Now, how many here have flown to Europe? Put your hand up. Come on. Okay. How many of you have flown, say, LA Rome, LA China? Guess what? You've flown to Australia. So that's what the flight's like. Literally, 2 movies, dinner, and a nap. That's all you need, and you're there. It's that easy. In 25 years, I've done the flight 109 times, okay? It's a great opportunity. Read a book. Take the time. Enjoy the time. It's your time. No one can get you up there, you know? It's also a great opportunity to earn frequent flyer miles. How many of you are sitting on a couple of 100,000 miles? Come on, I know you're out there. Time to burn those miles. They're going to expire. This is the opportunity. No, a great way to earn miles or to burn miles, depending on which carrier you're with. And we'll talk more about that, but all the major carriers are now flying to Sydney daily, every day. And United's just started a new flight out of Houston, it's direct to Sydney. I just flew back on it, it was fantastic. It's easier than ever to get there, and we'll talk more about that at the end of our presentation. But of course, the first gateway into Australia is Sydney, beautiful city of Sydney. Beautiful natural harbour, of course home to the Sydney Opera House, which is a World Heritage listed site, and also the Sydney Harbour Bridge. I don't know if you know, but these days you can climb the Sydney Harbour Bridge. You can actually climb it, you've done it, right? Live to tell the story. Very exciting experience to get up on top of the arch of the bridge and see the whole city from 360 degrees. The Hunter Valley is only 2 hours drive from Sydney. You can get there by vehicle, you can get there by four-wheel drive, you can get there by seaplane, you can get there by light aircraft, you can get there by train. You could even, if you want, cycle there if you want. It's so easy to get there. You can imagine being on the edge of a large city like Sydney. The Hunter Valley is a well-established tourism destination. It has all the weekenders coming out of Sydney, it has people travelling from Melbourne, has beautiful accommodations and lots of great attractions and experiences. The region itself is the oldest in Australia. 1788, Australia was discovered or founded. Literally the vines have been growing since then, early days, and brought to Australia by James Busby, the father of Australian wine. You'll hear more about him when you're in the Hunter Valley. Oh, sorry, going the wrong way, aren't I? The region itself has 6 key areas, and you can see, probably I could show you on the map, actually I should step down and show you. So Sydney's just down here, and you can see the Hunter Valley stretches all the way up to the largest area there, Denman in that area. Singleton, Port is probably the main region, and Cessnock. That's the area where the resort is that you'll be staying at for the conference. But quite varied climates across the whole region you'll find in the Hunter Valley. You'll see the seaside location changes the climate, and as you go inland toward the national park, it changes again. It's an environmentally diverse region. The soil is very fertile, fed by major rivers, and it produces outstanding wines for both warm and cool climate regions. The winemakers like to explore local microclimates, varieties, and sustainable methods as well. You'll hear a lot about sustainability in the Hunter Valley. There's 60 vineyards spread across 5,700 acres. When I talk to people touring the Hunter Valley, I say, you know, what is it like for you? And they said, well, it's like Napa, but everything's closer together. So we can do 13 wineries in one day. So that's what they say, it's a lot closer in terms of the distances between the vineyards and the winemakers. 100 to 150 wine producers and celladors, the most in Australia. Mostly are very small. A lot of them are family run, 3rd, 4th generation winemakers. One thing you'll find when you're in the Hunter Valley is you'll meet all the family, you'll meet the grandchildren, you'll meet all the winemakers. They're very proud of their wines, and they love to meet people who are drinking their wine. Also, we just had one of our best vintages in record in 2017, so it's just going to be perfectly ready by the time you get there in 2019. A little bit about the wines. We actually have some wines here today we're going to have available for you to sample, so please come by and see us later on today and we can try some of the wines. It's very famous for the Semillon in the Hunter Valley. It's Hunter's flagship wine. Fabulous obviously with seafood, a great lunch wine, and you'll find plenty of it throughout Australia. Also the Shiraz, full-bodied wine, savoury, food-friendly, high drinking quality, and can age for decades. Again, you can try some of that today at the conference. The Chardonnay is back in Australia. I don't know if it's back here too, is it? Chardonnay is back. About 70% of the area is planted with Chardonnay, and they also like to blend that with Semillon in the region. Verdelho too, a naturally full-bodied, fruit-driven style of wine. Popular with wine lovers, particularly in Australia. They love it, Verdelho. So you'll see a lot of that as well. And it's a natural partner for the Hunter, of course, with the drier weather and the occasional rain. There's also a whole generation of new, younger generation winemakers in the Hunter Valley, and again, you'll get to meet them while you're there. And these are some of the different types of varieties they're developing. I'm sure some of these are familiar to you. They're very foreign to me, but maybe to you. And these are obviously great opportunities to try some different types of varieties within the Hunter Valley region itself, new and innovative winemakers. These are the standards that you probably may know. You've probably seen some of these in some of the US, in some of the outlets across the US. Drayton's Family Wines, Lindemans, McWiggins, Wyndham Estate, Thomas Wines, Margan Wines, Tyrrell's Wines, which is probably one of the oldest families in the Hunter Valley. Broken Wood, which we'll be trying today. We'll have those available for samples, and Tulloch as well. So a little bit about the Hunter Valley region. It's actually surrounded by a beautiful national park. It's called the Barrington Tops, but it's actually part of what's called the Gondwana Rainforest, which is one of the most ancient rainforests in the world. It's the southern tip of the Gondwana. Excuse me, yeah, I've got a frog in my throat. So lots of beautiful walks and fantastic things you can see in this region. You can go camping overnight. There's different types of wilderness retreats, hiking that you can do. Wildlife like you would believe, birds everywhere, kookaburras that you'll hear calling in the morning. There's also excellent fishing and lots of fabulous bird watching too, if you're into bird watching as well. We also have a zoo, so if you really want to see kangaroos, koalas and all those creatures, you can head off to the zoo and actually see them there, but you will probably see them a lot in the wild in this region as well. Horse riding, horse carriage rides, everything you need to tour the vineyards. You can also tour them by bicycle as well. Even do some skydiving if you want to check out the whole region by air. Am I allowed to mention beer?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Some fabulous beers, fabulous beers and breweries, I wasn't sure. You can try whiskey tasting, you can try gin tasting, everything from ginger beer to cider distilleries, generous portions, friendly owners and makers that love to share their drinks with you. So I'm sure it's something you're going to enjoy as well as the wine. Oh, sorry, I got the wrong way again.
I think I want you to talk more about the beer.
Yeah, I guess so. Can we touch it or no? I shouldn't touch it. No. It's all right. I can do it from there. What?
What time's the Bellini?
6 in the morning.
6 a.m.
Yeah. Golf courses, there's some beauties at golf courses. Actually, the resort where you're having the conference is set right on a beautiful golf course. But also Greg Norman designed a golf course in the Hunter Valley. He has a beautiful one called the Vintage. So it's quite affordable in Australia to play golf. So I'd recommend if you are a golfer, head out there. It's beautiful. See the kangaroos on the golf course.
25% off.
25% off. You got to remember that, everybody. Have we frozen? Have we?
Yeah.
That's okay. Don't worry.
I'm restarting. Go ahead.
That's okay. The next thing I want to talk about was some of the restaurants in the area. And we have some beautiful restaurants, what we call hatted restaurants, which is the equivalent of a Michelin star in Australia. And there's about 5 of them in the Hunter Valley region alone. So not only is the wine fabulous, but also the produce. And there are organic markets, sustainable farming, and lots of in that area. Cheese making. There's a wonderful store there called the Smelly Cheese Shop, and it truly is smelly. But you can imagine fabulous cheeses, all handmade. You can take classes on making cheese. You can take classes on the whole Australian wine industry if you want. There's a cooking school there as well, so there's lots of fun things to see and do. That's pretty much it, everybody. We'd love to. The whole reason I'm here, though, is to invite you to come. We know you will love it, and from what I've seen, all of you folks just seem like you just love Australia, I know. And I know some of you have already been. How many have you actually have already been? Wow, that's a lot. It's fantastic. Well, I hope this time you'll get to come back and enjoy the Hunter Valley as well. And for those of you that haven't been, now is the time. You know, go and see the Great Barrier Reef. Go and see the other parts of Australia you've always wanted to see. It's a great chance to do it while you're extending from the conference. This is my last slide, and then we have a small video that shows you some of the region. This was taken in the Hunter Valley. Nice stormy sky. about sunset and also around sunrise. You'll see the kangaroos bounding around the vineyards. It's a great way to stand on the balcony, sip your wine, and watch the kangaroos. And we just have a short video to give you an idea of the region. If it's going to work for us.
Where are you pouring today?
Please come, we look forward to seeing you. There was a question, sorry. Yeah, we're going to have the questions now, so.
We are going to do questions in just a bit.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give you the details. Now that they've given you the sexy part, I get to give you the cool part. That's the date everybody's been asking us. October 10 through 12, which is autumn. Autumn. Oh, spring. What's the weather like in Hunter Valley? Yes.
The reason I'm jumping up to tell you is because my husband emailed me last night because he's a Luddite and can't use anything other than email. And in Adelaide, which the temperature is slightly different in New South Wales, a little bit more humid in New South Wales, but it's similar. So yesterday in Adelaide it was 27 degrees, and I looked it up in Sydney. Oh, sorry, Celsius. Can someone convert for me? 84 Fahrenheit. Sorry. But that's particularly warm for this time of the year. So it will be somewhere between what it is here today and that.
It's about the same as California. So Sydney's reaching in California, Los Angeles,
So the price is essentially going to be the same as it is over here, and we will be charging in US dollars if you're booking here, and we'll be charging in Australian dollars if you're booking from Australia. It will go up. That's the starting price through this month. But I think it only goes up $25 or something after that. But hopefully all of you will race to do that. Sarah's published it right now, so you can go onto the Wine Bloggers Conference website and click on News, and it's the post about Australia, so you can register right now. This is where it will be, the Hunter Valley Crown Plaza. There's your discount. It's a very good rate. The Hunter Valley Crown Plaza saleswoman does not like me because I have been working hard to get our costs down. It's a very nice resort, and that is a very good price for Australia, the 190, and 134 makes it an excellent rate for one of the top wine regions in Australia. So you know how that works. When you go to the top wine regions, things get expensive. We are getting a good deal. We also have an even better deal if you want to pair with other people, because you can get 2-bedroom villas, and if you do that, it's only $100 a night for each room. So that's a pretty good deal. And for those of you who really want to have a party over there, you can get 3-bedroom villas. We will be setting up pre-con and post-con excursions. We do not have them set up yet, but I want to tell you what our plan is. Our plan is to set up a 3-day pre-conference excursion in a different region of Australia, so that you can fly into Sydney, fly to another region,
see that region for 3 days or more. You might go there in advance even, and then go to the conference. The conference will be the same sort of time frame that it will be here. You don't need to go over there and have a longer conference. I think we tire you out enough with the 3 days we have it anyway. And then we'll do a post-conference excursion. The post-conference excursion, we don't know quite yet. It might be in New South Wales in another area. So not the Hunter Valley, because there are, how many wine regions in New South Wales? No, in New South Wales there are like 16.
Yeah.
So there are other places to go, and that would make it so that you don't have to fly again. And that would probably be 2 days or 3 days as well. So we're looking at providing you options for an 8 or 9 day trip just with what we're organizing, and then obviously you can extend it on your own as well. Irene mentioned this a little bit, but the Hunter Valley is the right place to do this conference for us because of its benefits itself, but also because of its location. Sydney is definitely the major airport in Australia, and most of you know that. So it's not like you can fly to other places directly, but most flights go to Sydney. And so by having it in the Hunter Valley, which is 2 hours away, and you know we always want to have them in the wine regions, not in the major cities, it's a really good location for us. Irene told you that there are more flights than ever. United just added a bunch of flights from different locations.
Yep.
Houston.
Qantas now flies out of Dallas direct to Sydney. We have Houston direct to Sydney. Air New Zealand's about to start flying from Chicago via Auckland to Sydney. So there's more flights than ever.
And that drops the prices. So when they add in more capacity, obviously, then they drop the prices a little bit. So we were talking prices. Irene was saying that from LA it's $1,100. I went to Europe this summer, and granted I had to go sort of book it last minute, but I paid $1,600 to go to Europe. So it's not like the old days when we were flying to Europe for $350, right? Everybody remember that? The exchange rate 71 cents, so it's not even a 25% discount, it's a 29% discount. And that is the lowest exchange rate for Australia in 9 years. So it's not like it's always like that. It is to our favor now.
Do you speak the transportation from Sydney to hotel?
Many different ways. I mean, the easiest is to drive, self-drive, or there are definitely shuttles that will take you from a Sydney hotel direct to the door of the hotel, so you can book them easily. Even like an airport shuttle or a coach shuttle or a private transfer, quite affordable. You know, anywhere from $50 to $100 one way, depending on how many people are in the vehicle. And you can ride share. There's Uber, there's Lyft, there's everything you need in terms of getting there. And because it's such a popular destination for weekenders out of Sydney, there's a lot of options in terms of transportation. But also you can catch the train, and the train ride is a beautiful ride from Sydney Central Station. And you actually head over what's called the Hawkesbury River region, over all this beautiful inland river region of New South Wales into the Hunter Valley. And it's an easy access, $5 taxi ride from the train station to the resort. We actually had a conference at this exact resort 2 years ago, and it was fabulous. It's set on a gorgeous golf course. It's right at the gateway of all the vineyards and the wine tasting, the salad-ors. It's a fabulous location to view the region, it really is. And the villas, I recommend the villas. They're a lot of fun. Yeah.
Wow. You can't what?
You can't book the hotel yet. It's too far in advance.
Yeah.
Yes, and we will have and of course you would have been paying a higher rate anyway, so we will give you a code for the hotel booking, and we will almost undoubtedly have an agreement with a transportation provider to get a discount to get up there.
Mark, can you just repeat that question? They're so eager that she can't book yet.
She tried to book the hotel already, yes.
Book a villa, guys.
You want the three.
I'm not a plant.
You know that there will be a lot of wine at the Wine Bloggers Conference in 2019, because there always is. The Hunter Valley is going to provide all the wines for live wine blogging, so that's already been confirmed. There are 14 regions, I think, is what I found.
With the ACT, right? 16 altogether, yeah.
Okay, 16 altogether. The ACT is the...
Yeah, we have, in Australia, Canberra is our capital city. There was a big argument between Melbourne and Sydney, and they decided that they should develop our own capital called Canberra, and also it has its own territory called the Australian Capital Territory. So you'll hear ACT, which is Australian Capital Territory, but same as Washington DC, actually, here in the United States.
And so, you will have wines from all over Australia, not just from the Hunter Valley. So when you see those wines that we listed, you'll be getting all the wines from Australia, because we will be going out to people to try and get people to come in and sponsor the conference and provide their wines. I also think it's going to be an opportunity to get wines from New Zealand and from maybe other places, right, that we don't always get wines from. Wouldn't it be great if we can find a winery from China to sponsor the conference and we can do a Chinese wine tasting? So just like always, it's going to be an international conference, not just Australia. Well, I did go back. There we go. And it's the same thing with the attendees, right? I just wanted to give you the sense of what we're thinking, because I do think this is an exciting aspect of this. Clearly, all of you, except for those of you who aren't from North America, but most of you are from North America, and you are a major group that we hope will be going over there. Our alumni in general, meaning if you're not a blogger or a writer, but you are our alumni, we think that you're probably going to be interested in that too. What we don't think we're going to be getting is a lot of industry folks from the United States to go over there. So that's probably not going to happen as much. The Australian bloggers and writers, we certainly are going to contact and convince that they should come to this conference as well. And we think that we should be, and by the way, the Australian government is very keen on China and Asia, because that's a huge market for them for tourism and for wine purchases. And so they have been quite clear with us that they have these two markets, China and the USA, and they want us to make sure that we are targeting Chinese writers as well. So we will be doing that, as well as Asian writers. How successful we will be, I don't know, but we'll certainly try. And then I expect, just like we do in the US, when we have wineries send their marketing folks to come, we think that will happen in Australia too. So from my point of view, it could be one of the most exciting conferences ever, because you might be sitting at a table with people from all over the world and get very different impressions and experiences and contacts. And so I think that will be a very exciting part of what will happen next year. And that's all we have. So why don't we open up now for questions, and maybe you two can come up and join me. Carl.
Currency fluctuations, is the room rate fixed? Is that solid, or is it subject to...
It's fixed in Australian dollars.
Yeah.
So that means it's subject to fluctuation.
Okay.
If you prepaid it, which I suppose you could, you would book it in, but yeah,
Okay.
just like any other.
Okay, good to know. I have one more, I'm sorry. This year, I don't think wine industry was able to attend the pre and post excursions. Will you change that for next year? Because
Yes,
I'd like
and not only that, but we're also making the excursions open to spouses and family as well. Significant others and family. So because we know it's a long trip and we know you might have a hard time getting permission to go. And not only that, the conference is too. So I'm not sure that spouses are going to want to sit through our conference, but it's not expensive. You can sign up your spouses for the conference and the pre-con, post-con excursions. There will be no restrictions for those excursions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's an amazing magazine that you all should
Here,
subscribe
let
to
just-
called
Suzanne,
Senior Wine Communicators, Gourmet Traveller Wine, the Australian version. You get it digitally. It's fantastic. Beautiful photos, all the stories of the winemakers. I really recommend you subscribe to that before you come. What's it called? Gourmet Traveller Wine. So it's run out of Australia by this wonderful writer, Judy Saris.
other questions? Yeah.
Just wondering, when will you have the times for the pre and post excursion?
When will we have the times for the pre-con and post-con excursions?
Because it impacts the booking of the flight.
It will impact the booking of the flights. I don't know. It's going to be hard. It might not be. I'm probably going over there in November. and next month. And it's very likely we'll have them practically tied up by then, meaning once I'm over there. So I would say early December probably is what we're shooting for.
So finalize bookings on or around that time.
Yes.
If you want to do it early.
Yes. Other questions? Linda, I have a question for you. Can you tell us about the media, the wine media in Australia, in terms of bloggers and writers, and who more your members are? Because she's got 700 members in her group that we think are some of them likely to come as well.
Yeah. It's a good question. And Australian wine, we have a lot of Australian wine media, traditional media, and they're still fairly prevalent in Australia, but they recognise that they're losing their credibility due to people like yourselves. So they're changing their formats, a lot of them, and moving to a digital format and getting more modern, I'd like to say. And then we have a number of influencers who might be specific around wine, but lots of them are wine, food and tourism. And then we have people who I would call educators, so people who teach the WSET course potentially or other courses. Not all of those people, but a vast majority of those people are WCA members, and a vast majority of them, I suspect, will come along to this conference. So Suzanne was just talking about Gourmet Traveller Wine. Now Judy Saris runs Gourmet Traveller Wine. She's a beautiful lady. I have no doubt in my mind Judy will be at the Wine Bloggers Conference. She lives in Sydney. It's a 2-hour drive. Why wouldn't she come up and meet all of you wonderful people who could be potential writers for her? So that's their opportunity to meet you.
Any other questions? Yeah.
This is probably for all three of you, but will you guys do you have any plans in the works to help us pitch for sponsorships, like airlines, work on getting us some more money to get over there?
Well, we are likely to get a discount from an airline or 2 airlines. They do that for groups. For our food blogger conference next year in Juneau, we have a 10% discount, for example, on Alaska Airlines, which is the only airline that flies up there. So we're working on that. Irene has contacts with all the airlines that fly over there, and we will be doing that. So that will help. We are not going to, I don't think we're going to be doing your job to get money to go over there. I think you're going to have to do that. But I think that's a great question. We have tried to facilitate things like that in the past. It's difficult. I think that really the way I've seen it work the best is when you can make a pitch to a specific company that you can convince will receive some benefits from you going over there, right? And that's a little difficult. For one thing, if you're pitching to a US winery that wants to sell over there, when are you going to do that? What are you going to do? If you could pitch that you're going to represent them and they would sponsor the conference and have an expo table, and you would go work that table during the expo hours for free, right? They might then pay your cost to go over. So that's definitely a possibility. I don't know. Ideas for that from the crowd? Has anybody done that successfully? Gotten sponsored to come? Suzanne?
Extremely obvious idea I have is to contact an Australian winery and say you will publicise their wines in America.
Yeah.
That's why they want you all there. So
Yeah, and how would that work though? You contact an Australian winery and you say to them, "I'll come to your winery."
and then I'll do write stories about you.
Put me up and I'll write stories.
There's a session later today on
I was going to say
I mean, the thing they're interested in is distribution, creating awareness. The more followers you have, the better, obviously.
Followers or engagement?
Yeah.
More engagement.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, conversation about that. Yeah, it's a good question. We understand this is the first time this conference has ever gone outside of North America. For those of you who are relatively new to the Wine Bloggers Conference, when we started this in 2008, the next year, somebody started the European Wine Bloggers Conference. And we worked with them at the beginning, and they actually were hosted on our website. So we cooperated. There was a European Wine Bloggers Conference for about 3 years. They changed the name to the Digital Wine Communicators Conference. And that was probably went another 3 years, and then it folded. And I'm not sure why I was telling you this story. What was my point?
First time out of the country.
About cost and going to Australia. Thank you. I went out last night too. I don't drink during this conference all day long, but once I get the microphone down on the shelf and turned off, then I am just like all the rest of you. It's costly. We understand that. We have not moved this conference around the world. It's a North American conference. And this is going to be costly, but it was a gem of an opportunity, to be honest, to get this grant that helped us put it on, to have Linda be our main contact over there and eager to help us, and she has been helping us a lot already. So it is really a gem of an opportunity, I think, and we're not planning to go back to Australia soon, right? It's not likely that we're going to be back there very soon. I do think it's possible in the future we might bring this to Europe, since there is no European one as well. And if anybody has any really great connections there, we would consider that too. Greece.
So I'd like to, I was talking to a lovely lady yesterday. I can't see her at the moment, but it doesn't matter. And she was oscillating between whether to come or not. And I just said, look, don't die wondering. Seriously, ask yourself a question. Absolutely. Like, you only live once. If you've got an opportunity like this, you love what you do, clearly, it's a fantastic opportunity to come and see some of the amazing wines. We don't just make Shiraz in Australia, we make some pretty amazing wines, and the alternative varieties that we're looking at, because of so many reasons, I could go on for hours. It really is a wonderful opportunity for something that you love to do, and you can call it work. So it's a tax deduction. Now, I'd like to just mention one more thing. If you haven't got one of these books, the lovely people at Destination New South Wales have shipped these over here for us, along with the wines that we're going to try after in the break. If you haven't got one, we've got many more. If you don't get an opportunity to take one, please take one with you. It's a lovely coffee table book, and you can brag to all your friends to say you've got one.
Where's Tim? First registered participant for next year.
I think this is the first ever Wine Bloggers Conference in the Hunter Valley. In Australia.
Yeah.
So you guys are exotics, okay? They're going to be coming from everywhere to meet you and to find out what you do. And look, one thing, what you all know about Australians, they're very curious. They love to meet people and love to talk about wine. So it's really a rare opportunity to travel and see this destination and with people you love, and to enjoy something you love as well.
So since Tim's already jumped on this, I'm wondering if there's a cap on how many people can attend with that, since potentially all the other European, Asian could come in. Yeah?
No, yes, no.
18 people, so we suggest you register right away. No, there will be a cap only by capacity, and our capacity is at least 300 over there, so we'll be doing fine. We don't know how popular this is going to be. We told everybody in Australia who we talked to, and we've talked to everybody over there, that this is an unknown a little bit. But I'd have to say, with the reception we've heard from all of you this weekend, it's pretty positive, and we know it's a hard thing to get on there and book that and then book your airfare. But it's a positive reception, and we think it's going to be popular, and we think it's going to be popular in Australia too. So
to be fair, we haven't launched this in Australia or Asia yet. You guys are the first to hear about it.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very, very popular, I can tell.
Other questions? Yes.
I am concerned that pre and post excursions often sell out very quickly.
Yes.
And
And if we're traveling that far and you're opening it up to family and guests and all that, can we be assured that there's going to be those slots are going to be available?
No. There are no assurances, right? We do our best, and I'm highly aware of that, yes. And so we will definitely be making larger capacities for the pre-con and post-con excursions. That might mean that it'll be larger groups. You know, we try to have those pre-con excursions limited because we think that's part of it. I don't know what's going to happen. One of the options, what Linda and I want to do is bring the pre-con to South Australia where she lives and where she knows everybody. And if we did that, it might be what we'd like them to do is have the South Australian government take it, essentially, and then get 6 different itineraries and have you all do the same itinerary or different itineraries but at different times. So we don't know, but definitely we will work on that. That's a big concern. Other questions?
As someone who's been to Australia, there are tons of tour companies, and if we get a big or smallish group together, I'm sure we can get a great rate. So if the pre-con sell out, we can always figure out our own.
Yeah, there are other options. You know, this is a great reason to be on the Facebook alumni group because these kind of conversations can go on there. For example, if you want to share one of those villas, and I should tell you too, I think the villas only come with once a week cleaning. So if that bothers anybody, it's more supposed to be more like a
family style.
yeah. But also what the point was is that we could also do that for tours, right? So some of you are going to want to spend 2 weeks over there or 3 weeks, who knows? And so you will be able to communicate with each other and say, hey, I'm going to spend extra time. Who wants to go do this with me? Other questions? Yeah.
I don't need the mic. What time are you pouring today?
In 2 minutes.
Yeah, after 10.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Any one last question? Great, well we hope you, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if you are planning to have extra tours, you know, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know that we will work on the extra tours outside the pre and post. Yeah, we can undoubtedly do that, get information. It might be we can find a discount for those and then make those available to
We
you.
can definitely assist you there. We work with all the major tour operators that sell Australia here in the US, and we can definitely assist Alan in putting together some fabulous tours to all over Australia.
Let's give these two a round of applause just for coming out. And let me tell you what's happening next. 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 And let me tell you